Well, sometimes a ramble is a good thing.
Sometimes good things come out of a ramble, but still in all.
Well,
I think for our podcast, it's nice to have something a little bit more.
Okay. Well, we're recording now.
Oh, shoot,
So-
we started again?
Hello,
Okay.
everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome to another episode in the new year.
In the new year. This is our first episode of 2021.
Thoughts Explored. So, we are kicking off this first month of the year. And what I wanted to talk about, and I think is really important, is everybody getting into the mode of receiving. I think we do a fairly good job of giving. The receiving part of it is something that I think we could all use some help with. So, Lex, when I first said that this was going to be the topic, like, I don't know, 5 minutes ago, I started asking you what your thoughts were.
Well, the thoughts that come to my mind right away, just with the topic alone, is the question: what do you do to put yourself in a receiving mode? My first thought was not necessarily receiving goods and services, but reception to ideas, receiving grace, receiving, that kind of conceptual thing.
It was a very large question,
yeah.
So therefore you can go wherever you wanted to go with that.
So then the next thought that I had was, well, let me think of all of the ways that the practices that are not good that block me from being in a receiving mode.
Okay.
And
then you're going to say what
exactly
enables.
And I think that this is really good because it is a topic that so often just is an undercurrent.
Mm-hmm.
So to have an intentional practice, or at least awareness, is a good first start. So a lot of times what I think blocks me from being receptive is preconceived notions. Or assumptions, or that kind of thing. I already know that it's not going to work out. I'm so certain of it, and that's a really bad habit.
It really is.
And even that habit is not I'm not intentionally
Nope.
being blocked to it. It's just a bad habit.
Yeah.
And so,
how do you turn that around?
How do I turn it around? Exactly. To open myself to that, I have to lay the assumptions and the preconceived notions down. And that's the very first step for me.
Yeah.
Is to even be aware that I have like this negative chatter in my head about why it's not going to work.
Yeah, that
because that
narrator is
exactly, and that's
saboteur.
The antithesis. That's totally antithetical to being receptive, because you've got this armed roadblock that's already telling you that nothing else can come in.
Yeah, you've basically told yourself that. I mean, you're asking for it. Your words are saying that, but your actions are not aligned with that at all.
So of course that's very little. I mean, some things can still always seep around the edges. So I don't think we're ever entirely, totally, adamantly blocked from receiving.
No,
but it sure isn't in the flow that it could be.
The flow is a perfect. Is a perfect
word
for that.
Instead of all of the wonders and glories that want to be received by us with actual resistance.
Yeah.
And then no flow can happen. Or the flow definitely is slowed down. What are your ideas on that?
Oh, you're going to turn it to me. Well, I would say I definitely hear what you're saying. One of my examples is the book that I released last year. And for all of my talk, that's why we have really never, we as people, we really have to be very conscientious about what we're doing every day. And that doesn't mean you're careful per se, but it is monitoring your thoughts, what's coming out of your mouth, and then making sure that they match up. So with the book, my first words out of my mouth were, well, I don't really want to make any money on the book. So it comes from a good place because what I was really trying to say was I just wanted it to be read by the masses, and I wasn't really that concerned with monetary gain, which I'm not. However, I really didn't do much to promote the book as much as I could have.
Mm.
I could have done a lot more um, with that, and so that's one thing. The other things I think are more of how I'm acting as um, and really kind of expressing who I am to in my authenticity, and looking at the actions that I'm actually doing. And so some of those things I find from time to time don't match up, and I'm now stopping myself in the middle of that and saying, what what what's happening? You're saying that you want to, this is, how you want to behave, and yet this is actually how you're behaving. And so those things are kind of counter to, like, uh, not really receiving what I'm asking for,
Mm.
because my
You're setting
actions.
up your own roadblocks.
Exactly.
I see.
Yeah.
With that being contrary to what your thoughts are.
Yes.
So by saying, I don't really want to make money on this book, how does that block?
Me from receiving, because I'm not, my actions then don't do anything to I actually want to have it out
Generate
into
money.
the public, and the way, the form that we have is, it has to garner some sort of money, because you can't have it, I can't have it for free on Amazon.
Yeah.
Now I feel like this has gone into. Okay, so just to clarify, what I was trying to say was that in this particular structure of the book deals with Amazon, I have to have it monetized for some way. So if I'm saying that I don't want to have any money for it, I'm not going to know. A
It's
lot of
not going to
people,
reach the masses,
yeah,
which
a
was
lot,
your
right.
intention.
A lot
Yeah.
of people aren't going to get the book. So that's where I was going with
Yeah.
that.
No, that makes sense.
I could see how it might not make sense just when I just said it like that, but that was what I was thinking. So, just for the receiving mode. So anyway,
So one of your practices is to be, if I can just reiterate what I'm understanding that you said, one of your practices is to be clear about what you're putting out there in the first place, as far as matching up your intentions and your language.
well, it's three things. You have intention, you speak the words, and then you have inspired actions
Yeah.
to carry out those things. So those are the things that tie it together. And so, again, just going back to being in a receiving mode, you have to always make sure that you're calibrated with that, right?
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
if it doesn't, if if something's not sounding right or not feeling right, is usually what it is, then you have to go back and you have to revisit, and you say, am I as open as I could possibly be? What things am I doing that are not really opening me up to be in a receiving mode?
In full flow.
Right.
Nope, that makes sense. I think it is. I think a lot of our I don't know that I'd say woes, but a lot of our
Challenges.
frustrations and challenges come from exactly that blockage of being open to reception. I mean, there are times I think that it's, filters are not a bad thing.
Oh, I don't think this is anything about filters. I think it's more about just being aware and conscious of, what you're asking for, and then what steps are you taking to get there, and then are you ready to get it once it's there.
To actually,
So it's a couple of steps, I believe, in the process. Something came to me while you were talking, but of course I can't remember it now.
What came to you as a kitten?
Well, that is that. So, anything else you care to add to that little nugget?
No, just that it's a challenge that I come across often, and I'd never really thought about, like you posed the question about things that you do to open up your receptivity, um, and so that's given me food for thought. Like, and my answer was first and foremost, being aware of what I am doing actively to block to block it.
Yes.
The next thing I need to do is think about what am I doing to actively receive it.
That's
obviously getting rid of the bottlenecks, obviously minimizing the blockages, but then is there another step of
well, and
actively
I think that
opening?
I think that the focus really, we as a society, as human beings, there's more focus on what is not right instead of what's going right, and so I do think that just putting that aside and then just saying, okay, this is my goal. This is where I'm going. This is how I'm going to get there. Might there be some challenges, but part of the fun is like figuring out what you do in those situations because you're going to get those situations. You are not going to go through this life without any challenges. And if you're spending all of your energy with a woe's me attitude, then it's going to be very hard to get into a mode when you see when something is presented that's probably good for you. If you're
Yeah.
like down in the dumps licking your wounds, then it's going to be hard for you to get that.
To climb on out.
And
Yeah.
it's a vibration. I feel like it's an energy level. It's all of those things. So I feel like I've thrown a lot of things in there. So we might have to like pull the thread on a couple of those in another episode. But it is all connected. So
it's totally all connected.
it's hard to like stop at that. But I think we will
I think
in this episode.
Yeah, because I think that it's all about like shining a light or examining various different threads of a very, very complex and moving, tapestry.
Okay, and with that, we will say so long for this month's episode. We will be back in February with another exciting episode of
Yes.
Thoughts Explored. Thanks again for everybody that's tuned in. Wishing you love, peace, joy, and all the gratitude in the world that you've tuned in to us. Thank you.
Take care.